You notice that I post a lot of stuff, mainly clips from CNN. I do that because, honestly, they're the only network at this point who is willing to tell the truth and not take any political side. Unlike some networks I know out there, Fox News and ONN and all those other clowns who are pro-Trump. Anyway, Don Lemon responds to the interview between Oprah Winfrey and Prince Henry and his wife Meghan. And the real thing is, it really cuts deep into the heart of the problem that we're still facing, that obviously the United Kingdom isn't facing. And that problem is racism. Take a look at this, and I'll give you my 2 cents in a few moments.
Oprah was speechless. Most people are speechless, but I have to tell you, I don't think Oprah, I don't think anyone who watched it, especially any person of color, is surprised that the British family, that there was racism there. That is what the monarchy is based on: heredity, hierarchy, a caste system, bloodlines. And so the whole institution is built on a racist structure. So there should not be a, oh my God, the British family is racist. Of course they're racist. That's what the entire monarchy is built on. The racism, the family that is supposed to be in that only by birth. And so far by birth, it's only been white royals on the British throne. That's it. So we shouldn't be like, oh my God, the British family's racist. Yeah, the system is racist.
You say people weren't surprised, but Harry explained that he was surprised, right? That he didn't really see it until he had to see it through the eyes of Meghan Markle, through the eyes of a black woman who he loved. And then he said it was immediate being confronted with this, Don.
That part was not surprising because, as we always say, that is what privilege is all about. If it doesn't, you don't have to deal with it, then it doesn't exist for you. Look at all the criticism that before the interview aired, there were so many people who were on social media who were saying, oh, I can't believe, why are they doing this? Oh, woe is me. They're rich, they're wealthy, they're royal, what have you. And not even knowing what the interview was going to be about, not even knowing someone else's existence. I wonder why these people always try to explain what someone else's experiences are, and why all of these privileged people, most of them on social media, white women, who are criticizing Meghan and Harry and Oprah for what they were about to do, and then the interview as well. Why is that why do you have to get on social media and weigh in on everything that has to do with black people and racism, especially if you are a white person in this country, unless you're going to be helpful and open about it instead of saying it doesn't exist? Oh my gosh, how dare you? They see everything through the eyes of this. Why don't you try to look at it with some understanding and with an open mind instead of always criticizing, especially people who have built their reputations on criticizing people. And you know who you are because you do it every time. Every time there's a story about criminal justice or something black or Colin Kaepernick or Meghan Markle, they always have to rush to Twitter and criticize someone or get in on it because they want relevance. Well, you're not relevant anymore, and stop trying to be relevant on the backs of black people. That's what I'll say to that. So, of course, I'm not surprised that Harry was introduced to racism through his wife, and he felt it in a personal way. That's how it happens. I am a black man from the South who is engaged to a white man from the East End of Long Island. There were revelations for him, and still are in our relationship, because it wasn't something that he had to confront on a daily basis. Now he does. Now Harry does. So it means the world to him. Harry has a black child and a black wife now, so it is personal.
In ruminating and thinking about what Dom said on that point, I understand I can pretty much almost understand what Prince Henry is going through. Now, I'm not saying I was a sheltered person. I wasn't raised as a sheltered kid. I mean, I didn't really experience racism until I was in adulthood. I never really experienced racism, even when I was growing up in the South, believe it or not. I was never called the N-word when I was a kid by whites. I never experienced that. But I understand where Prince Henry is actually coming from. He never experienced any kind of racism. Not because he's white, obviously, but because he's never been exposed to the ugliness of this world. And it's not because he's a royal raised in the royal family is because he's never experienced it. When you're a person who doesn't experience things, you're shocked and shaken by it. If you're a person who's been raised in a house almost or your entire life into adulthood, you'll be shocked and shaken by seeing the most minute of things, like a car rolling down the street, or someone talking on a smartphone, or on a camera phone, or anything else like that. So when you're exposed to something that's even the most vilest of things, if you haven't been exposed or don't understand the tenets of racism, you're not going to recognize racism for yourself. But the real problem, now I can almost sympathize with Prince Henry on that. But what I can't sympathize with is people out here in this country saying racism doesn't exist when it actually does exist to this very day. As I am talking to you right now, Georgia just passed a bill that will make it harder for people of color, specifically African Americans, to vote in the next election. That in itself is racism. But a lot of these jaded Americans, a lot of them white jaded Americans, and some of them black jaded Americans have been raised in this bubble that say, if it didn't happen to me, it doesn't happen at all. In their idea, if racism never happened to me, or prejudice never happened to me, it never happens at all. We need to recognize that racism does happen in this country. If you actually watch this interview, you'll get the complete picture as to what racism is. Now I can't say that the royal family is racist. I'm not going to say that. I can't say that because, quite frankly, to paint the entire royal family with that broad brush is not who I am. It's not what I'm going to be. I don't have the facts to support that. Mainly, that's the primary reason. I don't have the facts and evidence to support that. But when I do have the facts to support that, that's what I will say. Now, Don Lemon, he wants to say that the entire royal system is racist. I can't actually say that. I can't really agree with that completely. But considering what these two went through, Henry and Meghan, I'm leaning towards that direction. And after the revelation of hearing that Henry's father wouldn't even take his phone calls, now I'm beginning to see the clear picture. They're upset at the fact that they married a black woman. But again, my last point with Dom is that when he said that white people like to go on social media and comment on everything about African Americans when they do right, when they do wrong, and everything else, that I have to agree with. This past weekend was the anniversary of Blaze Sunday, the day where the Civil Rights March got on Edmund Pettus's bridge and were met with extreme violence, beatings, bruisings, and murders. Someone on Facebook, on a news Facebook page, pretty much made fun of the whole thing when they celebrated, when they had a picture of all those who actually marched. Actually, it was a past picture ever since John Lewis passed away. He made some stupid ass joke saying, "Look at all those violent liberals." Really? That is what you're going with this? See, what really bothers me about that is that a lot of people in this country don't understand that racism still exists, or they try to make up excuses for it, saying this isn't racist, we're just trying to make sure things are safe, or safer, without knowing the kind of damage they're going to do. So I will sympathize with Prince Henry on that subject. He never experienced racism, not because he's a white man, but because he probably was raised in an environment that never taught him what racism is, what right and wrong is. He married a black woman, not because of her race, because he fell in love. The craziest reason of all, he fell in love. He probably didn't realize that by doing this was going to open up a can of worms for him and his family and Meghan's family and Meghan herself. Maybe he didn't understand what was going to happen. Now, I can sympathize with them to a point, and I understand and I applaud both of them for what they did, walking away from the royal family. But now you understand, Prince Henry, why everyone is going nuts about this, why your family and everyone in probably the UK who's probably watched this interview by now is going crazy about this. Not too long ago, I saw a clip of Piers Morgan going completely nuts over a person giving their 2 cents about this interview. So I applaud the both of them for doing what they did, and Prince Henry for actually opening his eyes to the hatred that's going on out there because of the decision that the 2 of them made. And understanding and becoming more and more wise as to why this is happening. But this country, the United States, needs to do a better job at confronting and fighting against racism. And yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to piss people off. And yes, it's going to be sickening. But without that, we won't stomp out racism. It's just going to continue to fester and fester and fester and fester. You saw a huge part of what's going on with that now. For the last 4 years with Donald Trump, racism came out of the closet and was expressed openly. And why? Because no one stopped it. No one said, at least no one on the right side, the side that should be talking, said, stop, this is wrong. The people who are talking are the ones being victimized by it. The ones who are not talking are usually the victimizers of it. So, racism needs to end. This gave us a smack in the face about how racist our world is, our country is. And the question I have for everyone out there watching this particular video right now is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to say about it when you see or hear or anything else, you see or you hear things that are inherently racist, inherently wrong? Are you going to take a stand against it? Or are you going to stand by and let someone else do it and not help them? Or are you going to just let it happen? The last 5 years should have taught us to stop sitting on our hands and standing up and fighting against it. Now's the time to fight against it. Because right now, I feel like I'm the only one fighting against it. I don't know if I have to believe that I'm not alone in this. But I'm willing to bet that I'm not. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.